Spike just stood with his mouth agape as he watched Twilight bounce around, throwing streamers from her mane all over the library. He shook his head, then started writing in the notebook. "It's been over 4 hours since Twilight's transformation," he wrote. "She's starting to lose her mind now, just wanting to throw a party for no reason. But luckily, things haven't gotten too out of hoof. Yet." Twilight set up a table in the middle of the house covered in cupcakes and ice cream. She bounced back and grinned, seeing the simple library now covered in streamers and balloons with a plate of pink and purple striped cupcakes surrounding a large lump of purple and pink striped ice cream. Stunned, Spike turned to her, who was tapping a hoof on her chin. "Well, Spiky, everything's almost perfect," she nodded. "But there's something missing." "Well, usually Pinkie has her party kit." Before he could finish, Twilight clapped her hooves together and squealed, "A party cannon!" She produced one from thin air and shot a torrent of streamers into the air, covering the entire library neck-deep in the colorful paper. Spike burst out through the top and turned to see Twilight laughing and doing a backstroke in the sea of colorful paper, shouting, "It's a swim party!" Spike sighed and groaned. "Twilight, don't you think this is too much party streamers?" Twilight giggled. "No, Spiky, I don't think there's enough streamers." The mare then took out the cannon from the depths of the streamers and shot another blast upwards, flooding the library with even more colored paper. Twilight flew through all of it and landed on her mezzanine to take in the view. It was then that she came to and took a long look at the streamer-coated library. "Dear Celestia, what happened here?" Twilight lit up her horn, and most of the streamers disappeared. The mare slowly got up, shaking all over and staring at the rest of the library, now outfitted for a party, and she asked with fear in her tone, "Where did all this come from?" "Honestly, I have no idea." Spike rubbed the back of his head. "You just came bouncing downstairs shouting about a party, and then started pulling the stuff out of nowhere." "I didn't even use magic." Twilight stumbled backwards and gazed down at her hooves. "This is impossible." "See, Twilight, you can't even understand yourself. Heck, even I'm confused by all this." Spike came up to her. "Can't you just turn yourself back to normal now?" Twilight shook her head. I can't. The spell's just gonna have to wear off on its own." She groaned and held her head in her hooves as a sharp pain ran through her mind. "What is going on?" "Twilight, are you all right?" Spike watched her flail and moan in pain as her two minds fought over her body. The mare was still bent over, holding her head as strange thoughts went through her mind. "What are you worried about, you boring old bookworm? It looks so much better with streamers and balloons. Now come on, we have a party to set up." Spike grew concerned as Twilight still didn't respond. "Twilight, answer me, please!" Twilight reared her head back and laughed out loud, bouncing upwards with her tail. "Never better, Spiky Wakey." She looked around one more time with Pinkie's mindset. "Darn, this party is still missing something, even with a party cannon." Spike groaned. "You know, we could just start the party now. I mean, those cupcakes do look good." He was just about to eat one up, but Twilight teleported it out of his hand, causing Spike to bite his little claws. Twilight shook her head. "No, Spiky, we won't eat a single piece until I figure out what's missing. This party has to be perfect." So she has the randomness of Pinkie Pie, but still has Twilight's need to make everything organized. Spike thought himself. "How do we get her to control it, though? I don't want to have it so Pinkie Pie completely takes over." Twilight then chirped and smiled as a metaphorical light bulb turned on inside of her head. "Guests! That's what this party needs. We need to invite every pony and Ponybell!" Spike squeaked and stumbled around. No, Twilight. It's fine. We can just have a party with me and you. Besides, we don't have enough room for all of Ponyville in this tiny library. As much as Twilight's mind wanted to deny it, she knew that it was true. Her mind deflated as she said, "You're right, Spike. The library is too small." Then she plopped on one of her chairs, softly folding her hooves. Spike sighed in relief and quickly sat beside her. "Well, Twilight, how about we dive into the cake? It looks delicious." The mayor sighed. "Fine, go ahead." Spike shrugged and grabbed a cupcake, chewing it tenderly as Twilight tapped a hoof on the ground. She took a cupcake and shoved it into her mouth and beamed as another idea popped into her head. "Spike!" she exclaimed. "We may not have enough room in our library, but Sugar Cube Corner has tons of room. It'll be perfect for the party." Spike choked on his cupcake, swallowing hard. "No, you can't." Twilight scoffed. "Aw, come on, Sourpuss. Don't you want a party?" Spike mumbled. "I want a party, but, you told me I can't leave the library." Twilight gasped. "I did! Did I make you a pinky promise?" Spike blushed. "Yeah, a pinky promise. If she's like Pinkie Pie, Twilight won't make me break one." He nodded. "Yep, I promised to keep you in the library all day. So let's just have a party here." Twilight groaned and dropped her mane again. "Oh, darn it." Then she plopped back into her chair, pondering as Spike ate another cupcake. "Good. Now I have to somehow make her forget about having a party." He swallowed his cupcake and came up to his moping friend. "Twilight, instead of a party, what if we read that new Daring Do? It's supposed to be really good." "That sounds like a great idea, Spiky!" Twilight bounced on the spot, smiling from ear to ear. "Let's do that right away!" She bounced over to the bookshelf, took out a new Daring Do book, and started reading. Spike wiped some sweat off his brow. "All right, looks like that'll keep her busy for a while." He sat back and munched on another cupcake. Just as he was about to take another bite, a loud screech pierced his ears. "Finished!" Twilight announced. "That was awesome!" Spike watched in disbelief as Twilight threw the book back into the shelf. "You know, that book gave me a great idea, Spiky." "I'm afraid to ask." Spike collected himself and followed her to the door. "Spike, you made me promise before the transformation. That was old Twilight. As new Twilight, I release you from your pinky promise." She puffed out her chest and used her magic to break the boards in the door and the magic bubble around the house. "Now I have to go to Sugar Cube Corner. Pinky and I are going to have a super special awesome party together." Spike groaned as he watched Twilight shoot out of the library. "Just wonderful. What was I thinking, letting Twilight become Pinkie Pie?" Then he started chasing after the party-minded unicorn. Pinkie Pie was busy at Sugar Cube Corner, delivering customers their pastries. The mayor constantly doused the food in powdered sugar and icing, prompting a few glares from Mrs. Cake. Then out of nowhere, Twilight burst into the cafe and rushed the pink pony, tackling her to the ground. "Pinkie Pie, it's so great to see you!" she giggled. Pinkie Pie eyed Twilight and pushed her back. "Nice try, me, but that's the worst Twilight impression I've ever seen." Pinkie, it's me, you silly goose," Twilight said. "I used a cool spell making me have the same personality as you." "Oh, really?" Pinkie Pie eyed up the horn and flicked it like a fork. "Are you really, Twilight? Just want to make sure you're not some evil monster who shapeshifts to the other ponies and leaves one big deal out. The square root of 9.23 is approximately 3.0380951, Pinkie. And let me tell you, if I were measuring out in that cupcake batter, I'd have to pay really close attention to it," said Twilight. Pinkie looked Twilight over and finally cracked a smile. All right, Twi-Pie, what do you want to do? Twilight blushed. Well, I was hoping you could help me learn to be more like you. Well, you came to the right place, Twi-Pie. She smiled and nodded. Who knows better than me? Twilight bowed before Pinkie. Teach me your ways, Senpai. Pinkie giggled and bowed in response. All right, my pupil, let's get started! Soon the two were bouncing all over the place, delivering plentiful platter of pastries to patrons, receiving smiles in return. Pinkie turned to see Twilight, now blasting powdered sugar all over a plate of donuts, and thought to herself, I love the new Twilight. I never imagined having a pony around that's just like me. Quite literally. Miss Cake turned around and scolded Twilight. Pinkie, what did I tell you about using too much powdered sugar? This unicorn turned to Miss Cake and cleared her throat. Sorry, Miss Cake, and I'm not Pinkie. I'm Twilight. Mrs. Cake's jaw gaped in surprise at the new sight Twilight and stammered. Twilight, what are you doing here? She just laughed. Sorry, Mrs. Cake, I cast a super-duper spell, making me like Pinkie Pie. Mrs. Cake screamed in horror. There's 2 of them now! Then she fainted, and Twilight offered her a hoof. Oh, there's nothing to worry about, Twilight said. I'll be back to normal by tomorrow. Pinkie Pie bounced over and squealed. If we only have day with party, Twilight, let's set up a new personality party. Twilight hoof bumped Pinkie Pie, giggling. I was just thinking the same thing, Pinkie. That sounds like a great idea. Then the 2 ponies started throwing streamers and balloons all over Sugar Cube Corner with the patrons just staring agape at the 2. Twilight burst through the front doors and yelled, Twilight! She stared blankly into his fire-filled eyes. Yes, Spike? He stomped over in anger and shouted, You need to come back to the library right now! He stomped his foot down and pointed at it. You know, you're just being a party pooper, Spiky. Twilight came over and cast a spell on him, covering him in a clown suit with a squeaky horn in his claw. Twilight booped a big red nose on his face. There, now you're a party clown! Hey! Spike yelled, but Twilight very quickly stuffed his feet into a pair of oversized red shoes, and every pony started laughing. Twilight threw her hooves in the air and announced, All right, every pony, let the Twilight Has a New Personality party begin! Twilight turned on a record and pulled the clothes off of the tables, making them vanish into thin air. With an open dance floor, she started busting a move, tossing more and more party supplies all over the place. Wow, Twi-Pie, you're amazing! Pinkie Pie caught a hat into party favors and trotted up to her. You're a very good student, aren't you? Well, maybe as long as Twilight stays in Sugar Cube Corner, things can't get any worse. Spike tried to kick off his clown shoes, but they seemed stuck in his clawed feet. Come on, Spike! Let's see if we can turn that little frown upside down! Pinkie Pie pulled him off of the ground and put him on her back, bouncing him up and down as she skipped around the room. She started dancing with him as he stumbled about in his clown suit. Pinkie, you need to listen! He cried as he was forced into a tangle with her. We need to take this party back to the Golden Oaks Library! Pinkie twirled him about and asked, Why is that, Spiky? Because Twilight didn't want any pony to know that she altered her personality. Spike let go of her. I was supposed to keep her at the library, but she escaped. She made me a Pinkie Pie promise him everything. Pinkie gasped in shock and fell backward on her hunches. So, she broke a Pinkie Pie promise? Yeah, and she's really starting to get out of hoof with it. Spike pointed to Twilight, who pulled out a punch bowl and guzzled the contents in seconds, producing a second one for the guests.
Well, it might be a pinky promise, but just look at how much fun she's having.
She watched Twilight jump over and dance with another pony.
I know that's the fastest way to lose a friend and all. But is it really that bad when she's having so much fun afterwards?
Pinky, I'm not usually the one to crash a party and all, but Twilight really needs my help right now, Spike said. If Twilight's not kept in check, she could do or say something that attracts some unwelcome attention. Plus, I don't want to know what happened if Rarity and the others saw her like this. Pinky rubbed her chin and idly swallowed one of the cupcakes Twilight had put out, processing everything she had seen and heard.
I don't know, Spike. You've put me in a pretty kooky predicament, and I'm not talking about a good kind of kooky.
Please, Pinky. Spike made puppy dog eyes and fluttered his brows. Can you take this party back to the library for us?
Well,
she started to Spike.
How could I not say no to a cute little face like yours? All right, Spikey. It'll be a little bit hard, but I, Pinkie Pie, promise that I'll keep Twilight mostly in check.
Thanks, Pinky. Spike put on a little weak smile on his own. I don't know what I'd do without you.
You're welcome, Spiky Wikey.
Pinky put on a determined face.
Now let's get this party moving.